I'm taking my dreidel away. I
Well,
hid it from myself.
maybe maybe you
Now
should
I'll
get
play with
like
my key instead.
a fidget thing. Just get a silent fidget thing, or somehow
I mean,
silence.
I don't have the energy. I'm not going to put my energy into finding a fidget thing. If the whole point of a fidget thing is you find something near you and you fidget with it.
So find something near you that doesn't go. Welcome back to Adulthood, friends. This is a podcast where two old childhood acquaintances, now friends, talk about some things that matter.
The things that truly matter.
The things that truly matter. Oh yeah, and I retract my statement about hating adverbs. I'm still not a huge fan of that one. The things that truly matter, like they matter or they don't, right? But I do like adverbs. Sometimes I say things and then I have to listen to the recording.
Do you truly like adverbs? Like truly,
I
really?
like them. Isn't that enough?
Absolutely.
Can't I just like them? Yeah, I'm sure everyone was walking around thinking I hate adverbs, but done.
So this is the podcast where we talk about adverbs.
Yeah, apparently. Well, I just needed to set the record straight. I just felt
that was me. It was my
owed
fault.
it to our listeners, you know. So today, this is our third episode.
So 3.
And yeah, number 3. And today we're going to talk about the negative sides of friendship. So things like betrayal, abandonment,
losing friendships, letting them go, that sort of thing. We talk a lot about what it means to maintain and make friendships as we get older, but what about the opposite of that? So
exactly. Okay. And I'm Aya, and that's Josh.
Hi. Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going all right,
Yeah?
My birthday yesterday.
Nice.
How are you today, Aya?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. Thanks, Josh. You know what's interesting about birthdays?
What's interesting?
Sorry, I shouldn't have had to wait for you to say that. You rolled your eyes as you said, "What's interesting?"
No, I didn't.
It's okay. It's okay.
I mean,
I feel like it's one of those days. I don't know if you do this, but I kind of sit and expect to see who my real friends are. Because I'm like, if you don't say happy
who's
birthday,
messaging me on my birthday?
You're out. Yeah. Who's messaging? Who messaged first?
I try not to be that way, Aya, because people are busy in their lives as we get older. But there's a part of us in our brain that we're just going like, who's gonna? I mean, my expectations are pretty low because if I'm lucky on I feel lucky if my dad remembers my birthday any given year. So don't worry, I love my dad, but he's bad at remembering my birthday because he doesn't care about birthdays himself. So.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, maybe that kind of shapes how we think of them later. Because my mom always made a big deal about birthdays and still does. So for me, it's like, this is an important day. And if I don't get the required attention, I feel like I'm pretty low maintenance most of the year, except for on my birthday. And then I'm like, I get to do whatever I want. It is my birthday. I'm like a happy, skippy person, but so also a very
a little bit back to being judgy on your no. Yeah. You're back to being judgy on your birthday.
It's more like there was one person at least who always says happy birthday who didn't this year, and I was like, okay, so we're not friends anymore. And it wasn't
I was just gonna ask, is that a litmus test for you? Are you when you check in?
Yeah.
When you check in every year, that's kind of it. You say, well, we'll see who wishes me that happy birthday this year. Meanwhile, they're in the hospital, fighting for their life, and you're like, screw them.
I did run through that potential scenario. I was like, okay, it could be a worst case scenario, but if nothing has happened, and otherwise, this is someone who has always not necessarily made a big deal, but always sent me something, or I've always sent them something, and then suddenly they don't. It's like, okay, you don't want to be friends anymore, or you don't, right? I think it has
because
some meaning.
you know what has a big impact on this lately is social media. So, for example, it's very easy to remember people's birthdays when your phone reminds you in the morning of that person's birthday. All you have to do is send them a quick happy birthday or a like, and it's so easy that people I hardly know, maybe don't even know at all, are wishing me a happy birthday. But there's a good chunk of people that I'm like, that's really nice. Who is that person? Meanwhile, people I really know and love, I sometimes 5 days later, I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry.
Oh,
happy
that if they
belated,
do that, it's
you know.
great. I'm like, oh, okay. But I feel
Well,
like sometimes I feel like it's deliberate. It's like you knew it was my birthday and you specifically
well, that's a
didn't.
question. If it's deliberate, then
It's
then
deliberate.
that's
How
a
can I not
message. But
remember? My birthday's so obvious. Yeah. No, someone who
your
like remembers every
your
single
birthday is the
year.
second day of the year. You're January
Exactly.
2nd. So I
The
remembered
new
your
year,
birthday since I was 3 years old. So
and so should everyone.
because yeah, we're 3 days we're 3 days. It's always been my dad is January 1st and you're January 2nd. And that's
There you
how my
go.
brain has always, figured that out.
Exactly. And actually, we recently found something else out about our
What?
birthdays. That we had a that's right on cue.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
that we had a
We had
birthday
it was our
party
fourth birthday
together.
party. I think it
Was
was
it
our
fourth?
fourth birthday
My mom
party.
was saying 6 or 7, but I don't know.
I
You
don't
both seem more certain about this than I am.
I
I do
I
remember
don't
it was
really
Play
I
World.
yeah,
But
we
we
went to
went
what do
to
you call
like
what
a
is
Chuck
Play
E.
World? It's
Cheese
like
type place. It's
they had
like
all those
jungle
tubes you
gyms.
crawl jungle gyms, yeah.
Yeah, indoor play
Play
place.
place. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then like cake and
But it was
stuff.
like giant. It was called Play World. It was like a huge
Yeah,
giant one.
it
Or
was a
maybe it just
world.
seemed giant because we were four. I
It
don't
did
know.
seem giant. It did seem giant. Or we were 6. I'm
I'm
sure
gonna
there's
go
proof
with four,
somewhere.
but I don't want but if your
I
mother's
also
listening, you
don't
know what?
care. I'm
I
sure
defer to you. It's cool.
defer to more Nikki. Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, my mom reminded me of that, and actually neither of us had really remembered. So we're slowly getting some recovered memories.
Yeah,
Um,
so we've
yeah,
always it's still so interesting how we've been so close yet so far
yeah. Like
for
you'd think
so
you'd
long.
remember someone you had a birthday party with. Not that I don't remember you, but you would think you would remember that. It's a little weird
Yeah.
not to. My mom reminded me of it. I was like, no, I don't think so. She's like, I'm pretty sure. So
She's like, well, now that you guys are friends as adults, I might as well remind you
yeah, yeah,
that you
exactly.
guys kind of were friends as kids a little bit
Yeah.
too.
Well, convenience, out of convenience, it was
Yeah.
easier for our parents to just put our birthdays
Yeah,
together.
they were like, hey, my kid's birthday is January 2nd and
Yeah,
your kid's birthday is January 5th. Why don't we just, it makes
it's
total
just
sense. We don't have to plan two
two in
different
one.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Half the price. I mean, it makes sense. I don't think I would have gone to Play World's
What if
party otherwise.
subconsciously that's the reason we're talking today? What if that's really that decision
So,
then is the reason that we're
oh, like
yeah,
we
what
don't
if
even
we just felt
realize
we just felt this bond and that we, you know,
that we forgot about. And we're just like,
yeah, it's
oh,
subconscious.
part of us actually needs to resolve that. We're like, I need to go
Yeah.
back and resolve that half birthday I had with this person I wasn't really friends with.
Well,
That makes
well,
sense.
you and I are examples of people who really we decided again to become friends later in life
Hmm.
as adults. But I don't know, have you ever felt it? I guess the question of today is have you ever felt that go the other way? Have you ever felt yourself really not want to be friends with someone anymore or just been okay with with certain friendships falling by the wayside?
Yeah.
Like what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. I think that was the norm for me for a long time. I think it's only
The
recently that
norm.
I've started. Yeah, that was the norm. I've only recently started actively trying to keep up friendships.
So
I
when
really,
when you
yeah,
say it was
yeah,
the norm, sorry to cut you off. I just want to be clear. You mean
sure.
that you let it was the norm for you that if a friendship just it was all just whatever was organic, like if it just fell by the wayside, you just let it happen. You didn't put
Yeah,
in the effort
yeah, yeah,
to maintain
yeah. I
it.
think
It went away.
yeah, and I mean, if we're gonna get all like tracing it back to our childhoody, I think I can trace it back to like my first best friend that kind of I don't want to say she abandoned me, but I'm pretty sure
Oh.
there were some like deep-seated issues there that after that I was like, fine, I don't need friends.
Oh,
What I
you
need
got
you
like
guys for.
jaded real early
Yeah,
on.
like real early. It's like 8 years old, and I was like, fuck this. Yeah.
See, and whereas I came from a place of where I was like, if I was kind of bullied as a kid and
Mhm.
people who like, and then I was, friendships kind of saved me, like good friendships as a kid
Yeah.
saved me. And I'm kind of the opposite. I'm like, wow, I need to hold on to these no matter what.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay. So
It's
so
hugely
how did
different. Yeah.
so when you say that jaded you, you, you stopped caring if friendships ended?
No, I don't think I stopped caring. I think I just and I mean, to be fair, this is also me looking back on it and saying that that's probably the reason, but who knows? I'm sure there's a lot of stuff at play there. But that specific friend, I mean, we were like quote unquote best friends when we were little, and we really don't have anything in common other than just it was convenience at first, and I was a little bit bossy, and she liked, you know, just going
Being
along
bossed
with
around.
things. Yeah, I think at least that's how I see it. Because whenever she,
I
like, so
told
she,
her, I said we're going to be breaking and entering, and she was like, okay.
yeah, exactly. I would always say like right, badoop boop, like her name, and she'd go right, and that was like our thing. And I was like, yeah, she's agreeing with me as she should. I didn't.
Wait, how did that friendship go by the wayside?
Yeah, I know, right? Like, I gave her everything. So I mean, to be honest, it made sense. Like, she got along better with different groups of people, so she kind of just like we were never antagonistic towards each other or anything like that. She was never mean to me. I hope I wasn't mean to her. So like it was fine, but if someone better was around, she would ditch me for them. So that's fair. And so I also did mention this to you. We don't have to go into it yet, but or at all, but we
I was
did
like, we
say
should
that
go
at
into it.
we did say that at like in elementary school, I was kind of I had some more aggressive tendencies, let's say. But
I like to say you were the top of the food chain with the
sure, let's
girls,
say
and I
top
was
of
the
the chain.
bottom of the food chain with
Let's
the
put it
to the
that way.
guys.
It's a much nicer way
Yeah,
of putting it. So
yeah.
at and then so I also did dance as like I had dance classes pretty regularly, and by pretty regularly I mean almost every day of the week, and like adding up to a part-time job essentially. It was most days of the week. So it's kind of a second home, and I was very much at the bottom of the food chain there. And the girl that I had been friends with was also there, and she didn't actively bully or whatever you want to call it me, but she didn't stop the other ones from doing it.
Just as bad
So
often.
yeah, so I just kind of I have some mixed feelings there, and I think I just had a bad idea of what friendship could be. So
Right. I mean, you were taught that
this is
like, oh,
therapy
these
with
people are
Josh and
supposed to be
I.
my friend. No, well,
Yeah.
kind of, right? I
No,
mean,
it's okay.
you were taught this is people were taught what things are by our experiences. So you
Yeah,
had this experience of friendship turning sour in many ways, and
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, that makes you think, well, maybe all I need is myself.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope. I mean, and I had good friends after that. So it's not, I think I would say I don't need anyone, but especially later in life, I went through like an I don't need anyone phase, but
Hmm.
and maybe I don't need anyone, but it's way better with people that
You're
are
definitely more selective.
worthwhile. So yeah, and I mean, I always praised myself as selective. I was like, if you're friends with everybody, it doesn't count for much when you're a friend. Like it was almost like it cheapens it to just be friends with everybody, which is not true at all. Like you can be friends with as many people as you like. It's not like people are like, oh, I'm your only friend. Oh, I must be special. Nobody cares. So,
I mean, I've
so
always looked at
yeah,
it as like there's
but
levels. Like there's, you have
right.
uh you could be friends with everybody, but
Yeah.
the most basic level can be just kind of more surface level friends, and then
Hmm.
you get deeper with people you're closer to. It's not like binary, in my opinion, like you are or you're
Yeah,
not. But I guess we're a little bit talking about that, at least for me, the exceptions.
for
So
sure. Yeah. And I
because
think it's interesting to talk to you about this because I would say that you're pretty forgiving and like open to people. It doesn't seem like the norm for you to cut someone out of your life. It seems like something that you would do very with a lot of hesitation. Is that
well, there's a
right?
reason for me at least that it's it's very hard to I really, really hate being a hypocrite. And I'm one of those people that if you're going to have a problem with something as somebody else, you better not do it yourself.
Hmm.
Right. And I'm just aware that I have flaws. I'm capable of screwing up in so
What?
many ways that I would not want to hold somebody else to a higher standard. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I, how could I not be forgiving of other people when I am not a perfect person?
That's so
Um,
wise. Were you like that as a child too? You're like, I will forgive because
I don't know. Well,
I am
I
also
don't know
not
if that.
perfect.
I don't know if I thought of it all that. I don't know if I thought of it with such nuance.
Mm.
I think I was just happy to make friends. Like I was always just happy to be close to people.
Right. So, and I mean, you kind of mentioned your friendship with Roman, and
Yes.
that's for sure. That sounds like kind of a wonderful
S-
example for
It was a
friendship for you. Yeah.
super healthy friendship. Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
extremely. It was such a good template for me that once I saw
That's a great.
what a great friendship could be, I wanted to bring that to exactly. If you had, for example, it sounds like you maybe had some negative templates to work off of.
For sure.
I
Yeah.
had a really positive one, and that really can determine, I think, how you pursue those friendships later and whether you will work hard to maintain them. But that being said, even with this positive personality, you could say that I have, someone described me, actually, one of my friends I lived with the other day, she described me as bubbly dark.
Oh, that's
I
weird.
have a
I mean, not
bubbly
weird.
dark
That's
personality.
yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I think okay. I don't see you as so much dark as having like a very deep sense of humor. Like your humor goes everywhere.
You mean a very eclectic, you know, very deep,
Yeah,
very.
I guess.
Maybe I
Yeah,
also try
maybe
not to be as dark with you, but I'm pretty known for having a fairly dark sense of humor.
sense of
Um,
humor, but I think it's more of like an openness. Like your darkness comes to like wanting to understand all experiences of life. So it's comes from
I'd
like
like to think so. That's such a nice
yeah,
positive spin
I don't see it as
on that.
like a I don't really see you as actually
Yeah.
dark in any.
Well, I'm not dark in that I don't believe I'm pessimistic, but
Yeah.
I do think it's a bit of a coping mechanism.
Mm,
Um, yeah,
that's a
I think
decent
it's a
one.
coping mechanism. Yeah,
It's a good one to
when you
have.
use that dark sense of humor, right? So,
Yeah.
for example, I've dealt with a lot of dark situations in life, so that dark sense of
Yeah.
humor is almost in my mind a positive way of dealing with it.
It's the best way,
Um,
in my
yeah.
humble opinion. Yeah.
What were we talking about? Wait.
So
Uh,
okay, so in terms of friendship, are there any dark sides to your friendships?
oh, okay. So, well, dark side to the friend. What do you mean by that exactly?
Or well, I was just kind of trying to tie it into the past to the last thing we were talking about, but I
Well,
just mean like, is there a negative experience with friendship that you've
I
had
mean,
that
yes.
kind of
Well,
came
that's the
to
thing.
mind? Yeah.
I do, as forgiving as I am. I mean, there are such a thing as toxic relationships and toxic people, frankly. And I remember actually one of the earliest experiences I had with that was someone I think we both knew back in high school.
Hmm.
We, we won't mention names here because if I do, you'll just bleep it out anyway. But
You can
if
mention names if you want to shit talk and
yeah,
just
I
like
don't.
get it out
I'm
there.
not. It's not. That's not the point, though. But it was a.
No,
Yeah, we'll call him British. Yeah. So you just
should I
kept
cut?
going
I
right
should
down
bleep
to.
that. Yeah.
But here's the thing. I was friends with this person. I mean, him and some others, and I mean, we used to get together. We used to play video games. We used to eat lunch together. And he was a very charming person when you first met him. This guy. I was excited about the possibility of maintaining a friendship with him. But then as time went on, I started to notice that bad things just happened. Bad things happened when he was around
Mm.
to me. I just kept like my life got chaotic and upsetting things would happen when he was around. And at first you start to make excuses for that
Mhm.
person when you start to see that happening because this is this charming guy and we've had some fun experiences together, but eventually you start to realize this is toxic. And I remember this experience I had with this person. He had come over to because I'll say so he happened to also live on my street.
Mm.
He lived on my street, which meant he would just show up at my door
That's brutal.
randomly to just well it
I
is
guess when you're
okay if you really
kids, it's
if
kind
it's
of
well it can be a
yeah.
lot of fun actually if the person is not a toxic person, but in
Okay,
this
fair.
case this person was a very toxic individual. And I remember he had gone through a breakup like it was a year before, but you and I had different experiences with him because weren't
Yeah,
you
we
friends
did.
with him as well?
I mean, I
Sort
personally
of.
was not really. He was
Okay.
just so our friend group had a habit of bringing in the like people who like new people would just be like, "Oh, do you have someone to eat lunch with? You want to eat lunch with us?"
Hmm.
We were so we
So he kind
invited
of just
him.
joined he came
So
from
he kind of
Britain one
joined
year, I
our group.
guess. And
Yeah.
yeah, he
Yeah.
was, it was cool new British guy. And honestly, I
Yeah.
mean, I think that slick accent of his really helped tide
Oh,
things
for
over.
sure. Without an accent,
That
he's just
charming personality
barely.
and accent.
Yeah, we were
But
not
anyway.
immune to. Well, we were not immune to the accent. I think the accent really hits
Yeah.
you when you're like a
Yeah.
teenager. Even in adults, it still sounds like they're a little bit smarter until you realize they're not. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt. So
no, I just basically he would show up at my house randomly because he lived on my street. So here's an example of when that really became, I can give you a few examples of some really upsetting things that happen. He shows up upset about his girlfriend breaking up with him. I'm like, okay. He's like, hey, do you mind if I come over? I'm like, sure, come on in. We go and we play some video games. And then he's like, hey man, I don't know if I feel good about going back home tonight. You mind if I just stay here? I was like,
okay.
sure, man. So I stayed downstairs in the living room with him. I just kind of slept down there, but we played video
Wow.
games and fell asleep. And that's kind of cool. But I had one of the things to understand about my household was my dad was doing chemotherapy at the time, and it was not a pleasant experience, and just having extra people around was kind of stressful for him and his anxiety. So I knew that by the time he woke up, it wouldn't be good to have a friend over there just that day. It was hard to explain, but I just told him, hey, if you could be out by noon, my dad's getting up around then, and he's got other things to worry about. So he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So we get up in the morning, we start playing video games. It's getting towards noon, and I'm like, hey man, so it's getting towards noon. Do you mind if you could leave right now? And he's like, yeah, just a few more minutes. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, just a few more minutes. And I'm like, all right, it's been a few more minutes. Do you mind if you leave? He's like, well, I didn't save the game. I have to get to a spot where you save the game. I'm like, okay, why don't we get to the spot where you save and go? All right, I'm getting a little nervous. My dad coming down, wondering why we slept in the living room, etc. So and then and then he like passes. I don't remember in the video game. He doesn't save, or he passes by the spot or whatever. He just keeps going. And I was like, all right, man, we really have to get going right now. It's past noon. I asked you to leave, and he's like, dude, just chill. It's fine.
What? How is that fine?
And I was like, no, I'm telling you, you have to go. He's like, dude, just relax. And I'm like, no, please, if you have to go, please, you have to leave. He's like, dude, just chill. I'm like, please, you have to go right now. And he was just like, he stopped what he was doing, and he went, you know what? Fuck you. And he took the controller and he whipped it at the ground. He threw down, he got up, he's like, fuck you, you're a shitty friend. And he stormed out of the house and he slammed the door.
What a psycho.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, I'm a bad friend. I had
only you would take that from that. You're not a bad friend. That guy's an ass.
Like I'm thinking, like, what did I do? I let him stay over, and I spent the entire time with him. I just told, I let him stay past the time he said he was going to be here, despite the fact that my dad was going to flip at me. And anyway, of course, this would always happen, right? He does something bad, and then the next day, he'd give me a call and be like, hey, man, I just wanted to apologize. I was out of line the other day. I shouldn't have acted like that. Right? Yeah. But I mean, this keeps going. There was another time I went to a birthday party with him, and we were playing pool. And our mutual friend, Grant, was there. Oh. And Grant was there. I remember he actually, and this was very interesting. I remember we were playing, and it was just a friendly game of pool. But I guess, I don't know if I was winning or not, but he disagreed with a choice. Like, he was saying, oh, that was in, and everyone was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that counted. And he just went crazy, and he took the pool cue and he whipped it at me across the table, and it literally stopped just short, like millimeters of my nether region. Jeez. And literally, I pulled back. I was like, holy shit, that could have been terrible, right? It's just lucky. And I didn't say anything. You know who says something? Our quite soft-spoken, friendly friend Grant says, "I'm fucking leaving."
Really?
And I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm not here. I'm not staying here anymore. I was like, oh, okay. I've never seen Grant blow up.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever seen Grant angry.
Yeah, and I was thinking I'm like, wait, you're my ride. He's like, well, I'm like, okay, guys, I guess I'm leaving too. Yeah. So we left on his accord, which I think was the right choice to make, to show that wasn't okay. Like so I had a birthday party. I think this to me was one of the final straws, actually. This might be one more.
Yeah, I feel like you've already put up with way too much, but please go.
That's the whole point. It's never just one thing, right? It's a buildup, and until you realize like, oh my God.
Yeah, he was definitely a sociopath.
Well, or something, I
Yeah.
think it was probably borderline personality.
But I don't want to say that, because borderline personality, okay, I don't know. But
yeah, I don't want to judge everybody with this.
yeah.
But
I mean, to me, he at least sounds like a sociopath, though.
Well, there were things about it that were really, I mean, he was a pathological liar. He just lied all the time. This guy made up, he made up, he would just say he was the champion at various things back in Britain.
Yeah.
You remember, he was the best basketball player. Then we went and played basketball with him, and he did not know how to play basketball. And you know, he did that with so many different things. We would just ask him, like, why did you say that? Like, we wouldn't care. He's like, I guess I just wanted to look cool. And we'd be like, I guess that's understandable. And we let him be.
Do you remember his hair? It was always like, he was always flipping it like that.
Yeah, it was. He was like
a twitch. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead with your story.
So anyway, there was that, but then there was this birthday party that I had. I remember telling people, hey, there's going to be some drinks at my house, but like just very light drinking. We don't want anybody getting drunk. It's just casual, like a beer, you know, for my birthday party.
Was this legal? Or?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in Canada it was.
We're going to call the police now.
Yeah, I think I was probably 19. But yeah, or 20 by this time. Yeah,
I'm just picturing it. I'm trying to picture ages. You were still friends with him after high school?
That's the thing. Well, he lived on my street, and there was still, I would still see him that was the thing, through high school to undergrad. I stayed friends with him, despite all these things. And I mean, so this was like I mean, I had other friends, but you know, I did have some fun times with him. I can, you know, that's part of it. But anyway, he came to my, here's the thing. I told everyone very specifically, okay, it's my birthday party. I want to make sure no one's getting drunk here. No one's getting wasted. This is, you know, you want to get a little tipsy, want to have a beer, whatever. But like, this is not like a get wasted, destroy the house party. My dad, you know, I already brought up my dad and how he's a little, if he, you know, he was still dealing with cancer, and he didn't want the stress of a destroyed house, I'm sure. He already didn't want me having like a party at the house, I remember.
I wouldn't want a party or a destroyed house even without cancer.
Exactly. So but if you know me, I wanted to bring people together. I want to have a good time. It's probably one of those parties I invited you to that you didn't want to come to. So anyway.
Probably. Sorry.
No,
I lost out in the end. I could have had so many more friends. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You could have seen what happened here with let's hear British man.
Now I'm getting a first class seat.
So anyway, we're all being careful, and then he shows up late to the party, already drunk. He shows up wasted already, and then he goes around looking for drinks to drink more, and everybody, different people at the party, different times, were just pulling drinks away from him, trying to stop him. And it's I just remember how crazy this was. Like, I'm trying to enjoy my birthday party, like, you know, this is not, it started to become a little bit about him. He started with like, we have to no, oh sorry, I said his name again. You can't have that, you can't have this vodka, you can't have this whiskey. And we started hiding it from him, and he started going, where did you put it? You know, and we're like, we're serious. This is not what this party's about. Anyway, I lost track of that because, again, it's my party. I let him be, and I left. And then he was so drunk that at one point, another friend of mine, wonderful man, his name's Nathan, he offered to walk him home because he was, you know, he was so drunk. So my friend walks him home, and okay, great. Walked him home. He's not going to be here bothering us anymore. Nathan comes back to the party. We're enjoying our party. Maybe an hour later, someone shows up at the door. Guess who it is?
Do I have to? Because it's
yeah.
Okay.
It's not him. No.
His sister. No,
his
mom.
It's his mother. His mother shows up at the door.
Oh no.
Yeah, and she says, "Oh, hello." I'm not gonna do a British accent.
I did that too, and then I was like, it's gonna be everywhere.
And she says, "Hi, I'm sorry to bother you guys." And his mother was super sweet. His sisters were super sweet, you know. But his mother shows up, and she's like, "I'm sorry to bother you, and I have to ask. So, my son, he came home a while ago, and he kind of fell asleep, I guess, at the doorway, and he wouldn't wake up. So we called an ambulance.
Whoa.
And now he's at the hospital. And I just have to ask if you could tell me, please, you know, no one's gonna get in trouble, but what did he drink?
Yikes.
And we're like, I'm a little tipsy myself at this point, and I'm trying to, you know, I'm like, guys, you know, go away, let me handle this, right? I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I think he showed up already drunk. I'm not sure. She's like, it's okay. You can tell me. I'm like, no, we're not trying to hide this from you. He showed up drunk, and we kept trying to stop him from drinking. We had some drinks out. He tried to get them. We don't know. And we just didn't have a good answer for her, you know? And she's like, I see. Well, anyways, thank you anyway. And I'm like, well, we hope he's okay. And yeah, they turned out, I guess they pumped his stomach, and he was,
Whoa. Oh, so he
yeah,
was like way
they
gone.
did something. He went pretty bad. Yeah, alcohol poisoning or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so, okay, I'm here thinking like, oh my God, like this really put a damper on the whole party, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's
I'm
like,
imagining
literally,
it
this all
like
became about whether was alive. Sorry,
fucking
again.
getting his stomach pumped. What a dick.
Maybe we just leave the name in at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, we are. A while ago, I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm editing out, but it will just be like.
So anyway, he calls me up the next day, and you know what he says to me?
I can't even imagine what this dick would say.
He says, "Hey, about yesterday with everything, I just wanted to say that I forgive you."
What? For what?
And I was like, well, if you forgive me for what?
What?
Yeah. And he's like, well, it was kind of your party, and you let this happen.
Dude, what?
You let me, yeah, you let this happen. You let me get, it's kind of your responsibility. I'm like, what are you talking about? We
Oh
tried
my
to
God.
get you to stop drinking. We tried to, hey, no need to like get crazy. He's like, I told you, I forgive you. I'm like,
No.
you think I'm the one who should be apologizing?
Yeah.
I was so, anyway, that was near the last,
You still talk to this guy after?
there was one other thing that was really the last straw, and it was just I ended up speaking with his sister. Told me about something that had happened to him, some, we'll say, disease he contracted that was very personal, and I was like, oh my God, that's terrible. I'm not gonna say what it was. It was something you may not be able to ever get rid of.
Chlamydia.
No,
I'm gonna stop listing.
Yeah. And I was, anyway, I didn't, she came and talked to me about it, and you know, it was okay. She just was like letting me know what he was going through, and we had a nice talk. We're like, well, I hope he's okay, yada yada, right? He comes up to me and he says, heard you were fucking talking to my sister about, you know, this stuff. I was like, he's like, don't, I'm like, no, she was bringing, he's like, don't you dare talk to my sister about it, like, make her, how could you do this to her? How could you say? I'm like, no, she was talking to me. We had a nice conversation. How could you? Don't you ever? He made it sound like I like said something horrible to his sister. And he's like, don't you? And I was like, anyway. So after this, I was like, look, buddy.
Yeah, seriously.
We cannot be friends anymore. This is not healthy.
Finally.
I wish you the best. I wish you the best. And I've never done this before. This is a long road to get to this.
No, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I was like, look, we can't. I can't do this. I've never ended a friendship, but this is, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is just not gonna work anymore, man. I'm sorry. And he seemed to like, there was a bit of like a nod at the time. I think I said it to him. I don't remember if it was in person or over the phone.
You like broke up with him as a friend.
It felt like a breakup. It felt like a breakup. And I was like, I wish you the best.
Yeah.
And basically after that, there was hardly ever any interaction again, and we never really spoke again.
Okay. Well, that's good that he didn't turn into a crazy ex.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, my life got better. My life got better without him in it.
That is not a surprise. Based on,
I mean, it's easy to say that on your end, but I really was against not, you know, I really would always want to make friendships work. If there was an issue, I would go out of my way to try to empathize and understand the other person. But some people and some relationships are toxic, and that has to be recognized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's a good lesson, because I mean, yeah, we can say friendship's great and everything, but sometimes it's really not. And I mean, that's a pretty extreme, but good example.
I mean, it's one example. I literally ended up making, so I'm a filmmaker, so I ended up making a movie about the cluster B personality disorders, and I made one called Borderline.
Yeah, so that scene is in there. The scene with the, that's one of your few films I've actually watched.
Okay, so not only
it was that scene with the video games. And
that was one of the scenes in there, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I based a bunch of stuff kind of off of, it was based off of him.
Right.
Okay. That movie. And you know, I do feel a sense of empathy towards him, but I just have to do that at a distance. You know,
Yeah.
he definitely struggled with things. He struggled emotionally, struggled mentally. And the thing is, if you want to help, you know, you want to help people, but sometimes you can't do that at your own expense. You know, it's like if you're on a plane, they tell you put the gas mask on you first.
For sure. Yeah.
Or the gas mask or whatever. Yeah.
The gas mask, the
mask.
the oxygen.
The oxygen mask, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you kind of got to take care of yourself first in that regard. You know, you don't want to sacrifice yourself for others in that regard. But then is it worth going in the completely other direction either with friends? I wouldn't say that. It didn't teach me to be jaded about friendships just because this guy was terrible.
It seems like you had already kind of solidified your ideas about friendship. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. It's not just our experiences, right? I think like the way that you had a good friendship with Roman, the way that you just learned how much friendship makes a difference in a positive way for you made you still see it as worth it. And one experience that you have with one guy who clearly had a lot of his issues of his own isn't going to derail that completely. So that makes sense.
Well, so I don't know if you have a similar story.
I was
you knew
trying
him,
to think.
but
Yeah, no, I don't. Honestly, I wasn't really part of that whole thing. Like I was kind of on the side of it. I do remember there were a lot of people angry at that guy. Like, I don't know. It's
well,
not even worth.
it
I don't
sounds
have
like
any. I wish I had some funny stories or crazy stories, but I don't really remember.
well,
any.
to wish you had that would mean that you would let it get as far as it did, and it's true. I let that friendship get pretty far, and like again, we had good times here. We had fun time playing certain games. It's never so simple, right? It's like anybody who tells you about like an abusive relationship, they'll say it's not all bad, you know.
Yeah, he sounds like an abusive friend or a toxic friend or whatever you call
yes, exactly. But even okay, so that's like an extreme. But what about, are there people that you like that you've let go as friends, like, and why? Because that happens, doesn't it? There's people that you like and you realize I can't sustain this anymore.
Yeah, I think I have decided many times that I wasn't friends with someone anymore, but then later we're friends again. Like a lot of the
Okay,
time,
so you
like
don't stick to it.
I don't often stick to it. Sometimes I'm just annoyed at someone. I'm like, fine, I guess we're just not very good friends. Like in my head, I'll say nothing to them. I guess that's
Really
classic. So like, I mean, we kind of mentioned this before. Like, there are some friends who just disappear when they're in a relationship, and I have so many friends who do that. Like now, I've realized, okay, most of my female friends, if they're not messaging me for a while, they're in a good place with their relationship. As soon as they suddenly start messaging me a lot again, I'm like, something's going on. Are things okay with blah blah blah, whoever? Like consistently. I think I have three off the top of my head that I can think of, like three friends that they will go from not talking to me for days to, or like weeks even, to every day multiple messages, like long conversations, phone calls. It's like, okay, yeah, you're in breakup mode, all right, I'll talk to you.
So that's the whole thing. Do you lose friendships when you get into like a romantic relationship?
Yeah, I think it kind of, I mean, it more like ebbs and flows. I wouldn't say that I lose them. I would say they kind of float into the background. Sometimes someone moves
Right.
away and then
They
you don't
stop
really
becoming a
talk to them.
priority.
Exactly. And it's fine. I mean, that's normal. And it happens without even realizing it a lot of the time, at least. I think I've been pretty, not forgiving, but like, I'm not usually upset about that reason because I think I've been the same. You don't mean to, but it's easy if you're in a like consistent relationship to just be with that person and not put as much effort into hanging out with friends. So I don't really resent people for that. But like sometimes like the birthday thing, like I'll be very resentful at someone without them knowing it. And just like in my mind, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, you don't want to be friends? I don't want to be your friend either. Like it's more of a childlike defense mechanism of I'm cutting you off, you know, even though
Do you feel
clearly
like
you're the one who.
if do you feel like that if someone stops, if you guys just stop talking because, you know, of a relationship or something happens, a part of you just kind of goes, well, I guess we weren't that to the friends anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It goes like, oh, I guess they don't really care about me. I mean, I don't really listen
Oh,
to those voices anymore. Like I did, but I did
but
for
there
a
was a
while.
time.
For sure. There was a time where it was like,
Why
uh,
did you stop?
I think I just realized that, I don't know, I guess I just matured a little bit. I mean, I'm also kind of oversimplifying. I'm trying to actually think. Oh, I did have one friend that like, I think there was a point where she probably decided, I've been on the other side of this. I'm the,
Okay, I was gonna ask you about this. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know if this is actually, you know her too. So she wasn't like a good friend, but there was a time when we were both in London and we had worked together, and it was kind of convenient. So she would always invite me out, like, oh, let's go shopping. Oh, let's go to this exercise class. So we would do a lot of stuff together that I wouldn't even normally do, but I was like, okay, I'm coming out. And I think she thought she was doing me a favor, but also I was one of her few friends, I guess, that she had. We didn't have much, if anything, in common other than just like being around. Like we didn't,
Yeah.
she could be funny, we could have fun, but she dated this guy who was just such a, I don't know, just such a douchebag. Actually, you knew him too. So she dated
Oh.
him in high school, and we all knew what a jerk he was. They had kind of an on and off relationship, blah, blah, blah. Later, so this was like, we had been friends, but it was kind of already filtering out a bit. Like she had moved to Toronto. We didn't really talk much. And at one point, she posted on Facebook a picture of this guy that I thought she had broken up with, but maybe they were together again. And he was just such a jerk. He claimed he was a photographer, and he would tell girls like, "Oh, I'm engaged, so it's okay. You can get undressed in front of me. It's fine." Like,
Oh my God.
yeah. So, and it was a whole thing.
Jerk's an
Um,
understatement. Yeah.
yeah. And he also, at one point, threw some books on the grounds and yelled at a library
Oh my
employee.
God.
Are
This is
you gonna pick that
wait.
up?
Wait a
Yeah.
second. This is I
Yeah.
know. Not okay. Not okay. Fun fact here. Now I know who you're talking about. Yeah, this guy was a dick to me
This guy was a
when I
dick
worked at the
to,
library
yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
Specifically, I remember he just started taking books out and dropping them in front of me and going,
Yeah.
you're gonna pick these up, Paige?"
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, and I did. I like was like, yeah. and, I, and then I remember her coming up to me, but like, "I'm so sorry, my boyfriend's a dick."
Yeah,
like
that's
I'm
true.
sorry he cheats. He's just trying to be funny. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's so
Yeah,
funny
he is a
that
dick.
scene. I don't you say you
Yeah, you
haven't
told me that
seen
scene's in something too.
scenes in one of my movies.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I was
I mean, it's
yeah.
good fodder for, some stuff. So anyways, this was years later, and she put him on Facebook, and it said like hashtag 10 years later, hashtag something Monday. I don't know, all the stuff. It was a picture of him and then like a pile of food. It was like a pile of pancakes and like all this stuff. And I just
Yeah.
wrote, that's disgusting. The food looks good though, which I thought was
That's
hilarious.
pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Thank you. Thank you. But she deleted it and never
And
talked
she
to me
never
again.
talked to you again.
Yeah.
Oh.
But that was worth it because I got a laugh out of it. And
I
he
can see you
deserved.
I can see you gone back and forth in your mind. You're like, but that's funny, right? Right, guys? Right?
Yeah. Also, because I
I,
keep bringing it up. Like right now, I'm bringing it up. I'm like, oh, I've
well,
got him.
also it's
Got to
like
bring
you're
up
like,
that
I
joke
guess it
I
wasn't
made.
that good of honestly, that is true.
It
It
wasn't.
probably wasn't that strong of a friendship if it didn't survive at least communication about that. Even if it was a joke that had gone too far,
Yeah,
then you talk to the person about it if it's a
for
friendship, you
sure.
know?
Well, that's the other thing.
Um,
Like it was not a quality friendship on any level. Like I'm pretty sure she talked to her other, because she would talk, those people, she would talk about her other like friends to me, but then she would hang out with them all the time. And I was
yeah,
like,
no, I know
so
people
you do
that
the
people do
same
this. I
thing
don't.
with me too. Because
Of
if you're
course, you
that,
there's a lot
yeah,
of people we know like that. They're the type of person that their version of communication is gossip
yeah,
and talking about
exactly.
other people. You can be sure they're doing the same thing about you
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
others. And that's a very I actually have a strong belief that this is, first of all, it's a destroyer of friendships.
Mhm.
And it's like planting like a little bomb that's gonna blow up later, because it's a very unhealthy way to communicate, to just talk badly about other people
Yeah.
that you need to find more positive
Yeah.
uh,
Like this
things.
podcast.
Yeah.
Where
I mean,
we
today
only
we're talking
talk
about
badly about for like a
it's true,
whole.
but we are talking about a couple of key
No, it's fine.
instances
Yeah,
where this is. I hope
for sure.
people get to, or at least
I'm
that
just
there is a
kidding. It
difference.
totally didn't come off. No, I don't think it's gossip. Anyways, gossip is one of those. I'm not saying it's. I don't think it's good, and it's not a. It's not the foundation for a healthy friendship, but evolutionarily, did you know that this is like one of the things that they look at for humans? Like, oh, that's part of our storytelling. Like our
Yeah.
storytelling. What's it called? I'll cut this out, but it is interesting.
No, this
Just
is great.
that we are drawn to story and that we feel the need to gossip because it's kind of it's part of our. I just got super self-conscious about the fact that people are going to be listening to me explain this, and
No,
I
keep
can't even.
explaining it. It's great. It's very interesting.
Um,
This is why I love talking to you. I learn stuff like this.
uh, it's just so part of what we are as part of what shows us as a social culture is that we have to talk about each other, and we have to see gossip is kind of a way to know where you stand within the social like what our social standing is.
Yeah.
So in a way, I mean that's stupid, but just like in a
No, that's
way
super
it
interesting, and
does
that's true.
matter
That
for,
it's true that it's a natural part of how we
and
talk
it's
to each
used
other.
as a bonding. It is used
It
for
is a bonding
bonding.
tool, but
Yeah.
I think there's always a point at which things become, there's like a normal amount, I guess you could say, of gossip. Like everyone
Yeah.
does it a little bit, right? All our movies are about that, but there's a point at which if that's all you talk about, if that's your method of communication,
Mm.
and that's how you bond, and it's the only way, that's what I mean when I say that
I agree.
it could be
For
damaging.
sure. For sure. I
Like
agree. And
obviously
also
we all
like,
naturally talk about
yeah,
somebody here and there,
I agree. I agree
I
for
try
sure.
not
And I
to.
also think like I think one of the big changes for me in terms of how I look at friendship now is also seeing my real friends are the people that I admire. So I mean I'm joking about the friends that I don't talk to for months because they're like happy
Yeah.
in a relationship, but I admire them as people. So anytime I do talk to them, I'm like, oh, you're so awesome. Like you're just such a wonderful human. And I just like I'm so filled with admiration that I'm just yeah, that it's fine. Like nothing
Do you feel like there's such a
nothing's
difference?
wrong with
There's
it.
a difference between, like, do you divide into like real friends and fake friends? Like, do you believe there are fake friends?
I wouldn't, I mean, there are like top tier friends where I'm like, oh, you're wonderful.
Yeah.
And
And
then
there's more acquaintancy friends.
there's more acquaintancy. Fake friends, I think I'm a little too blunt to have many fake friends. Like I will be
Right.
polite to people if I have to, but honestly, as soon as I'm comfortable, all of my opinions come out. So it's really hard to maintain anything like that, and I don't really see the point.
So
So
you really get to, at least, even if you're selective, you get to something real and genuine as soon as you can.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, the
You don't like
friendships
to
that I
walk on
have are
eggshells.
amazing. No, no, I mean, I think I find people that I don't have to walk on eggshells with,
I
unless
mean,
that's an activity that we're doing of walking
you
on
say you,
eggshells.
unless you're literally walking on eggshells.
Unless you're just like, oh, you want to like spend the afternoon walking on eggshells? It sounds so fun.
Is this something that you do? Is this like,
No, I'm just,
because
it's
I just
past my
pictured that.
bedtime.
I
So
pictured that this is, I pictured
that's
that's
what
now how
comes
you
out.
enjoy yourself.
I mean,
I
it
don't know.
does seem like it could be fun if you're not worried about breaking them. It's just like a lot of cracking. Think of how satisfying that would be. Like,
All right, when we see each other, we're gonna be walking on eggshells,
yeah, and
literally.
like you're not using them
Um,
for anything, so it's not like you're actually ruining anything. It's actually a pretty good activity idea. Do you think that
no,
someone should invent this? Just like
it
everybody,
must exist.
like a place where you can go. It's like a play world for adults. Hey, do you want to literally walk on eggshells? And
I
then
think
you
they
just go like,
immediately break, so that's the whole point. You
but
can't
it's
actually walk
fun.
on eggshells.
Well, you're not walking on top of them, you're crushing them. It's basically
No,
crushing
so you're
eggshells.
crushing eggshells. Okay.
Crushing eggshells, yeah. That's the game.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So going
Okay,
back
what were we
to,
talking about?
well,
Yeah.
so here's the thing. You brought up these people that, I was thinking about it for myself too. People that, where you've been on the other side of it, where you've been kind of let go as a friend,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
I remember, sometimes it's hard to know if people are doing that to you, I guess, because some people will, I think often is the case, no one will be like, I'm letting you go as a friend. They'll just kind of not interact with you as much anymore. Or they'll keep
Yeah.
such
They
a
don't
distance.
actively break up with you the way that you
And then
did
we get a
when
little
we met.
insecure. Like, do they not want to be my friend anymore? Are they just super busy? Or is it like, what is it? And that's, that's like an age-old insecurity, I think.
Yeah.
But I remember my friend Roman and I, we had these friends that were a couple, and we loved these guys. They became such a part of our friend group. This guy and this girl, they were a couple. We went to their house. It was we went camping together. Like, I was thinking like, wow, we're gonna be friends with these guys forever. And then like one day, they just like stopped talking to us, both of us.
Wow.
And it was a couple. To this day, I don't know why. We both
you
like
still
literally.
don't know? I've been
We
waiting
don't
for the
know.
ending there. I was like,
we literally no. Here's the
happened?
thing. So here, but this is horrible because like, so Roman and I would like get together and we would just, we'd sit there going, did we do something? We're like
Aw, why
racking
didn't you
our
just ask
brains
them?
through
Why
our.
didn't you ask
We
them?
did. We even bumped
Oh.
into them at some
Yeah.
point. I remember bumping. So okay, so here's the thing. I remember bumping into. I think I bumped into her at the. It's called the Spoke. It was like a shot.
I know what the Spoke.
The cafe.
You're talking to our audience.
Yeah.
Like,
At
I know
our
what
undergrad.
a Spoke is.
Yeah, in university, right?
It's at Western in London.
The Western.
Ontario.
Yeah. And I remember actually bumping, and I feel like we caught them at the table, or one of them maybe, right? And it was like, hey, and like, hi. And it's like, well, I'm like, what did we do?
Did you say that?
I'm very I like to get right to the point, so I thought this
Good.
would do it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like you don't. Did I do something? I just want to say if I did something, I'm so sorry. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. You stopped talking to us, and she's like, no, and we're like, no, and she's like, no, we just got caught up with. It's bullshit because like.
Did they have a kid?
I made
or something?
I couldn't figure it out. They were still talking to another mutual friend after this.
Did you
and I remember asking that mutual. Yeah, exactly. I was like, mutual friend, why is it? She's like, I don't know. You'll have to ask. I'm like, come on. I still talk to that mutual friend. She's a good friend of mine.
Well,
but like, I don't.
If that couple is listening right now, please, we really need to know. This is going to bother all of us now.
To this day, well, I bet, and then we find out one day, and it's like some miscommunication. We're like, that's not.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh shit, we lost years of friendship, possible friendship. Or maybe
we
started going like maybe
friendship.
I was like, or maybe we're just. I don't know. We started going like maybe we're two guys and we're friends with this couple. Maybe it didn't look. Maybe the boyfriend didn't like it or something. And we were hanging out with her. Or maybe it was just were we too exhausting, our personalities, are we such extroverts that they just couldn't handle us anymore?
Yeah,
like
keep your extroversion to yourself, Josh. Jeez.
We could not figure out what was it. Something we said the last time we hung out.
Yeah.
It's to this day we're still driven a little crazy about it, and that can do that. When you lose.
Very frustrated now.
Now you have been roped in with us. So
ridiculous. The way you started that story, I really thought there was going to be an ending. Now we're just left hanging.
Well, that's the whole thing. Sometimes you don't know.
We all want closure,
Yes, we do. So even that's why with the other with British man, I mean, telling him, hey, we can't be friends anymore, but I wish you a good life. In a sense, had closure. We had a friendship, and it ended.
Yeah.
I guess that's not always a bad thing. I mean, you can.
Yeah. Do you think I should text my friend and be like, hey, we had a friendship and it ended when I made fun of your dumb
I think maybe the ship sailed, but
that's good, I don't really want to.
But I don't know. Do you feel like, I mean, moving forward, like making friends moving forward, do you feel like I guess the question is, how much effort is too much effort for you before you say it's not worth it?
Honestly, with the good friends that I have, it doesn't feel like effort. So I would say you shouldn't have to put any effort in that feels like effort. As soon as it feels like, it's like, don't do it then. What are you doing? Your friendship.
So you're saying that you should never have to put effort into a friendship?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that. God damn it, Josh! Stop You're twisting my words.
Words, I guess the words.
This is why people
matter.
cut you off and don't tell you why.
I brought this upon myself.
What was the question?
By the way, now before you get into this question, now that I've fully cut you off, that you say that, I remember I had this teacher when we were in grade 5 together, and I remember our mutual friend Daniel Botner, who we just spoke to yesterday. His birthday is also this month.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I thought it would be funny for some reason to like pull the chair. You know when people do that, you like pull the chair out
Oh
before you sit
man,
down.
yeah.
And I did
That's
that. I pulled
never
the chair out
actually
thinking
a
like,
funny joke. Yeah.
yeah, I was thinking like that'll be funny,
Yeah.
you know? And he like missed the chair. It happened, and then he hit his head against the chair and he started crying.
Oh.
And it did not go the way I planned. I was like, that didn't turn out to be funny at
Oh.
all. And the
Oh
teacher
man.
came and she pulled me outside of the room and she's like, this is why you're not gonna have any friends.
Whoa. Oh, that was clearly
And
Mrs. Delaney. That only could have been.
it wasn't Mrs. Delaney. No,
What?
actually, I
Wait,
can tell.
grade 5?
Grade 5, yes. But here's the thing.
Oh,
So before
geez.
we say anything bad there, she ended up
You
being
love her
my
now.
like.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. She ended up being my leader on a
Oh,
trip. We went to Israel on a trip to Israel,
yeah.
and she was like the leader of the trip, and we like got drunk together, and or we were smoking hookah or something. And I remember telling her like, hey, like this thing happened where I pulled a chair out with Daniel Botner, and
Yeah.
then you told me I wasn't gonna have friends anymore. And she's like, oh my god, I said that.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh my god, I was a terrible teacher. She's like, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. I was well.
She's
She's like, I
super
was
nice
new.
now.
She was
Yeah,
super young, and when she
I think
started
that was
there,
her
and
first
she's
year
like,
teaching. Yeah.
yeah.
She
She's
said
like,
something similar to me. Because she did say to me as well, I mentioned like, do you remember when you kicked me out of class for something I said and then forgot about me and I was like outside for over an hour, and my mom, because she worked at the school, would keep walking by. Every time she walked by, I would be like, oh, just getting something from my backpack, because our backpacks would be like lined up outside the, and she came back like I don't know, 20-30 minutes later, and she's like, and I'm like, just still looking through my backpack, and she's like, what's going on here? So yeah, so apparently this teacher had forgotten about me. I'll cut out her
I
name,
don't know
but
if she's like a great teacher, but she became a good friend actually, in a
so she's
sense.
a
Like,
lovely person.
yeah,
As an adult, I've talked to her, like I've substitute taught for her, and I remember mentioning that to her, and she was like, "Oh man, that was my first year of teaching. I didn't
same
know what I
thing.
was
Yeah,
doing. I was just learning." So, and she was like, what, 19 or something
she was
crazy
like
like that.
19, so she was
That's
a kid, you
insanity.
know,
Yeah.
teaching us. It was a kid
Yeah.
teaching kids, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So it
later,
makes
it's
sense.
interesting that we're talking about that now. Later on, it's like, oh, now I had that empathy, and we often do that when we get older. We start to
Yeah.
see that, you know, these people that we thought were just terrible were just immature, I
Yeah.
guess.
I mean, I never hated, like I never disliked, I had like some irritations with her as a teacher, but I never actively disliked her. It was always like, oh, thank goodness I misbehaved in her class and not Mrs. Delaney's, because
Hmm.
she won't make me cry. But yeah.
Well, for the record, it's not good that I pulled that chair and hurt Daniel
Oh, so
Botner.
yeah, I've actually done that trick, and it's a horrible trick. Like I did that
Yeah.
to my brother, and he fell on the ground. Like we were playing Risk.
Oh.
And I did that to one of my brothers, and he fell on the ground, and I was like, oh, that wasn't funny. And he didn't hurt himself, but everyone was like, he could have like actually gotten hurt. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh
That's the thing.
man,
Here's the thing. I was, as I said, I
bummer.
wasn't the most popular kid in class. So I remember
Yeah.
that being one instance where I thought, I'll try a little prank. And it did not go well. And that was the end of me pranking people.
Oh, yeah, pranks
Whereas people
mostly
pranked
suck.
me all the time. I went to a sleep. We're totally on a tangent now, but I went to a sleepover with a bunch of those guys. I remember one year, and they froze my underwear in the middle of the night. They put it in the freezer, like they wet it and put it, and
No.
then froze it in the freezer, so I couldn't wear underwear the
What?
next day. And then we were all like playing basketball, but I had like kind of loose fitting pants, and anyway, I was just
That's
like constantly
terrible.
holding my pants up.
How do they
Uh,
even get, okay, I feel like
they in the middle of the night they took my underwear and they put it in the free. I don't know.
that's
It was
that's
like a
so messed
sleepover.
up. I mean, I that is actually kind of what they do, what people do on sleepovers. I
Yeah,
remember at camp,
it was classic. It was classic.
it's
I
pretty
just was
classic.
always the
It
butt.
does suck though. Yeah.
I was always the butt of that stuff. No pun
Yeah.
intended.
Well, at least I guess you got your chance. Was Dan like an instigator in that stuff? Not as much. I feel
No,
like,
he wasn't even. No, he wasn't.
yeah, he
No,
was like one
and
of the nicer ones. Yeah.
yeah.
I shouldn't be
He was
saying any
actually
of his
he
real
was
name.
super. Honestly, I always looked up to Daniel. I always thought he was
Yeah.
super cool. But
Oh,
look, going back to maybe we'll have him on sometime and we'll talk to him. But going back, yeah. So about the effort that we should be wrapping this up, I guess, pretty
yeah, we
soon.
should.
But
Yeah, I agree.
the effort that you put
Oh yeah,
into,
you asked me a question. You feel
yeah.
like it's effort. Yeah. Okay. So what I meant was not, this is like going back 10 minutes. it's not that I don't think you should put any effort into friendships. It's that I think that when it is really a friendship, I don't feel like it's an effort anymore.
You know,
If
when it becomes a friendship, it should. You're right. When it
once it becomes
becomes,
a friendship,
yeah.
yeah, and I mean
But
it doesn't
don't you
take
believe
much with
in?
the right people.
But don't you believe in? There's certain friendships I have that are very meaningful and worthwhile, but we don't click that always that easily. You know, we have certain triggers that easily get hit, and we always are.
Mm.
It's like certain relationships. I like to say it's like a plane where you're constantly fixing the plane while it's in the air. You
Okay,
know,
that's true. Yeah, no, you're right. There are some friendships like that, and I do find them more draining.
they're draining,
Sometimes
but
I
they're
will
still
question if it's
worthwhile.
worth it. I often I guess like there are enough moments in it that it's worthwhile, and I
Yeah,
guess I do have friends where it takes more effort,
yeah,
just because yeah, something triggers like the way that they are makes me feel anxious in a way, and I have to engage with them in a way that isn't
yeah,
that is draining and does for sure feel like effort, but it feels worth it because I care
yeah.
about them, I
And
guess.
also, don't you feel like
Uh,
I learn from friendships that I have to put effort into? Because if I
yeah,
have
I
to
guess so.
kind of look at myself and how I'm not maybe being a good friend sometimes to somebody,
Yeah.
that makes, that forces me to grow as a person.
Hmm.
And
Yeah. Okay.
you know what I mean? I've actually grown the most with people that I've had to work harder at the friendship because it's given
Okay.
me more. That means I gain more empathy. I understand that what bothers somebody else more, or what their needs are better, and I have to pay attention to those needs. And yes, that takes effort, but it's when I become better at that, it actually makes me capable of being friends with more types of people.
That's a good point. It actually, yeah, I guess some of my it would be like I get some patience training and some empathy training with people
Yeah,
because I'm like yeah, it doesn't take a lot of patience when
yeah,
you really do empathize with someone and you're like,
yeah. I mean, if
okay.
you just be friends with the easy people who are easy, yeah, it's easy. It's not. It doesn't take as much work, but maybe you don't grow as much. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Or different
guess.
ways. I don't say you don't grow as much. I mean, I
Yeah.
grew like crazy with my best friend, but um,
Yeah.
I grew in different ways I never would have with people that I had to actually, yeah, like you said, empathy training.
Mm, that's a good
You
point.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I guess
Okay.
the final thing to ask before we wrap,
Go for
because
it. Yeah.
we didn't get to it, is have you ever been betrayed?
I couldn't really think of a betrayal like a very intense. There's no one I think of as like I have nemesis. How do you say
Nemesis?
like yeah, but I would have never considered them friends, so that doesn't really count.
Oh, I
Yeah,
mean, I guess all right. This will be my final story of
go
of
for
the
it.
night,
Yeah.
but it's interesting because this did lead to basically, I guess, the ending of a friendship. But it's not something that to this day, I feel like I would still fight for this friendship. Um, but I had a really wonderful, great friendship with this guy back in undergrad. We did a lot of. He's actually the person who got me into movies, making movies. I actually always really looked up to him. Really, really looked up to him. I would like dream or fantasize about us doing big things together, like later on. And I remember telling him, I was like one of my best friends, and I was like, but he got me into it, and then I would learn more, and I would learn more, and then I started to, I guess, because I was learning more from him, I eventually started to do my own stuff, and we worked on a project, we made a TV show together, and I ended up, taking on bigger roles. I brought the equipment in for us to use, so I gave me more power in the group. But this guy, I always still looked up to him as the guy who started it and created it. Someone that I looked up to, as I said. And then I started to see that he started to treat me worse and worse as time went on, and I started to realize it was because of jealousy. He started to feel jealous of. I guess I had a film that got into a film festival. Um, Oddly enough, he was in the film. He was the star of the film, but he didn't see it as his own. He saw it as my win. And then I got into USC Film School, and
Is this a story that you're just turning into a brag, Josh?
no,
Just
I don't mean to make it a
is
brag
this a
because it
humble
depends.
brag story? I'm just kidding.
I don't know. Is being
No,
as
it's
in as
good.
much debt? I'm in so much debt right now that
No, it's good. It's
uh,
good. It's good.
I remember getting into school, and then anyway, he basically, I remember talking to him and trying to tell him about some of the stuff that was going on in my life when I moved here. And he said, honestly, Josh, I don't think I can hear about any of the good things that are happening in your life right now. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I can't listen. I can't hear that.
Maybe he
And
had
I was
some
like,
like stuff
okay.
going on. I don't know.
He definitely had some stuff going on. And I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I get that's fine. But that it makes me hard to be happy for you when good things happen for you if you can't be happy for me.
Yeah.
Again, to me, this is a guy I looked up to, and he was constantly looking down on, you know what I mean? And I kept thinking like, okay, whatever those feelings is will pass. We'll be able to be on equal ground. I remember really rooting for his success in different areas, just so whatever insecurity he was feeling could pass, so that he could feel more confident being my friend. But it didn't happen that way, and it just kept getting worse. And that show that we had, which we had online and everything, he eventually took away my access to it online. So I was like, it was a part of, I was one of the people in control of it. He took away my access. I remember calling him up about this and saying, hey, there must have been some sort of mistake, some sort of misunderstanding. I don't have access. He's like, oh yeah, sorry. That's actually, it's going through like my account or something. So I just took it away from you because I honestly, I don't want people looking up stuff when it's under my account, and like the government will, I don't know. There's some conspiracy he started saying, and I was like, okay, I'm thinking this doesn't make sense, but I'm going to find a solution. So I found a solution. I'm like, all right, now I can access it and it won't affect any of these other things. I found the perfect solution. And he was like, would you just let this go? And I was like, what do you mean? I found the solution. He's like, just drop it. I'm like, I'd like to not drop it. This is something that's important to me, to have access to the content that I helped create, you know? And he's like, just drop it. It's done. And I was like, I had never done this before. I said to him, I said, fuck you.
Whoa.
I did. I said, fuck you. And then I immediately backtracked. I was like, you know what? Forget that I said that.
Oh.
Because it wasn't, I'm like, look, I was like, look, no, I said, you know what? I tried it out. It doesn't fit me, that type of interaction. I was like, I tried it out. Look, I'm upset about this. And then I spent the next little while apologizing instead of asking for what I needed. So then
you have some people pleasing issues there.
Yeah, so I solved that, but then he never actually gave me that access. And then
what a dick.
It seemed to have been born out of a lot of this stuff out of a sense of jealousy, and jealousy can really destroy friendships. I don't know if you've ever experienced stuff with jealousy.
I mean, honestly, if I have, I'm sure something has happened. I don't know why. For some reason, that is kind of in a denial / I don't want to hang out in that part of my brain, sort of thing. Just push it away.
If that happened, you pushed it away. You don't want to remember.
If that happened, it's buried under a pile of other shit. Like I'd have to really dig through, and I don't really want to because it's pretty messy in there. But yeah,
I mean, it's true. It's very upsetting to this day. It
is upsetting. Yeah,
I still want to believe that this person and I can still be friends somehow, someday.
Maybe you need to learn to let go of things.
But I also really, again, remember, I had all these fantasies about us going off and making things together and doing great things.
Well, that's part of the problem, no? Yeah. When you really idealize someone, like they're for sure going to fall short.
Isn't that the saddest thing, that this person was jealous of me when the whole time I looked up to him?
Yeah.
You know, he was someone that
if he's listening,
I always looked at him as, if he is listening to this, like, honestly, I hope he
would like to tell you something.
Well, I just want to say, like, I honestly, I always looked up to this guy. I always wanted him to approve of me, of what I was doing.
Yeah.
And for that to not, you know, every time that he wasn't approving was really out of jealousy. It's so upsetting to have that happen. And that's a sure way to lose a friend. So jealousy is bad.
Jealousy equals bad. That is our lesson for today.
One of them.
Yeah.
So what have we talked about today, Aya?
You do it. I think you're good at the summary stuff.
I've been talking so long, though.
Yeah, that's true. So we heard multiple stories from Josh about betrayal. Was one. When do you end a friendship? So for some people, that's a very difficult decision. And for some people, it's kind of a haphazard or haphazard. How do you say that word?
I would say haphazard.
Okay. For others, it's just a decision that they make and sometimes go back on. So, you know, when do you end a friendship, and So yeah, I mean, there are sometimes we have early experiences of abandonment, not just with parental figures, but with friends. And how does that shape
Yeah.
our later ideas
Yeah, if we
about
have a good
friendship?
friendship, it can be a template for something for good friendships
Yeah,
later. If you have a bad one, it can jade you, make you a
I like that
cynic.
idea of friendship templates. Like, yeah, what was your friendship template when you were younger,
Hmm.
from when you were younger? And yeah, and I mean, of course, there's so many things to consider, but um,
Yeah. That being said, for somebody who's supposed to be the positive one here, I've had quite the few negative
so I think they really,
experiences, but
I think there is a clear reason for why, like that, those stick out for you. Like,
right, I
so
care more too
you
because I
care a
tried
lot
so
about
hard to
friendship.
make
Yeah,
these friendships last.
it is. Yeah, I think you really put friendship at the top of your priority
But
list.
you
So
don't give yourself enough credit, I think, in some of these areas, Aya, and I
no,
think
I
you're a
do
little
give myself lots of
sometimes.
credit.
I just mean that you know what I mean. You first of all, you've been excellent at this friendship,
At this
at
friendship,
maintaining that. Yeah,
I mean, if we're being 100%
you
honest,
wished
this
me
friendship was, yeah,
you wished me a happy early birthday, a happy birthday, and a happy
that's true.
post birthday.
Because birthdays matter, man. If I forget someone's
Right.
birthday, it means I hate you. No, I'm just kidding. Um,
See, that's
honestly,
the thing. You said this, but now, are you ever gonna forget anyone's birthday? Like, what if you do? Then you're a hypocrite. That's what I was talking about.
if I forget someone's birthday that I like am really friends with, or I didn't know their birthday, or I forgot when it was, it's like a big deal. For me, actually, funny
Oh
story.
well.
I did call my. Okay, this is the last thing. I One of my friends. For some reason, so I called her and she didn't answer the phone, but I left her like a happy birthday song on her answering machine, just like in a ridiculous voice. And she goes, she calls me back and she's like, so like it's not my birthday. Like, what are you talking about? She's like, my birthday's in a week. I was like, even the best of us. At
You-
least I got it early though. And then
Wait,
she
getting it
forgot
early isn't. That's not. So you wished her happy birthday just a little bit off this
like 10
timeline.
days, or it was like a week to
That's
10 days
come
earlier.
on. That's a
That's
nice
pretty
thing that you
bad.
wish her happy.
I
There's
actually
nothing
think I
bad
was
about
remembering
that.
a different friend's birthday and I thought it was hers for some reason.
If
Anyways,
someone
it was
tries to
like,
wish me a birthday by heart, trying to remember my birthday and just get it off a little bit, and they like
that's
do
true.
it early,
Yeah.
that's like extra. It's so nice that they tried, and they didn't even have to look it up. They really thought they knew.
Are you
That's
telling
come
me?
on.
So that story was actually just how great a friend I am. That's what that story
Yes,
turned
that's what
into.
I'm saying. You
Oh,
are such a
that's
great friend.
great.
Yeah, with
But
high
no, I was gonna
expectations of others remembering your birthday.
exactly. I have high expectations of others because I have high expectations for myself. That's how it works. But I don't really. I shouldn't be saying this on publicly because now people hear it. But no,
You're a
what I was
wonderful
gonna say
person,
is
a wonderful
for
friend.
thank you. That's lovely. What I was gonna say is that in this friendship, really, you kept it going for so long. Like I was not. I put zero effort in until recently, and even recently, like what I said, let's start a podcast, and now I'm like, okay, I guess I have to talk to him every week. Uh,
It all paid off. Look at this on my end. I'm thinking all that effort I put in paid off. And you know what? A lot of the
what do you?
friendships where I put effort in at the beginning, where it wasn't quite clicking as well as it could have, but I thought there
Yeah.
was potential there. I have to say, I really feel like you build a relationship. It pays dividends in ways you can't even imagine ahead of time.
So you're looking at
And
friendships as investments.
they are investments. It's not
That's
like
I don't like that.
it's
I
not a
don't.
business investment. It could be, but
Mm-mm.
I'm not talking about like business. It's a life investment. It's experience investment. It's
All right. Yeah. Okay. Like a
yeah.
lovely investment, like a mutual fund. I don't know. RRSPs,
Mutual fund.
tax-free savings account. Yeah. So this has been another episode of Adulthood
Adulthood
Friends.
friends. And remember, make sure to follow us on Spotify or wherever you like to listen to your podcasts, and to like and follow us on our brand new Facebook page, Adulthood Friends.
Thank you for joining us, and hope to see you
Until
next time.
next time. Bye.
Bye.